it's all business interests that shape the way we think about the world around us. I mean, that's absolutely absurd. It's alienated us. Like our culture has just been a long process of extreme alienation from reality. And I think with this workshop, it could be the beginning of a grasp of from where we split, when we began this extreme alienation. I don't blame anyone who's been under the rule of this. You know, it's a difficult thing. If you can see that there's a problem, you have an opportunity. We have a certain amount of privilege that allows us to see that there's an issue. Not everyone does that. A lot of people are struggling and in the mud. A lot of people are just trying to keep their children fed.
Yep.
And so I'm just thankful that at least some people have an opportunity to see it. And I hope that we can share this and break down certain barriers with other groups of people and spread this knowledge and make it accessible, because accessibility is everything. If we don't make this knowledge accessible, we're not going to get anywhere. We're going to keep it amongst ourselves, and we're going to pat ourselves on the back. And we're going to continue down this trajectory of feel-good activism. No matter how far this goes, if this isn't a broad-reaching language we're using, I don't know that this is going to get anywhere.
We need to keep forging ahead with it. And you know, some other things that I learned from Paul's workshop this weekend was that there were two constitutions, and the first one behind closed doors got thrown out. And when they wrote the second one, they more or less excluded people. But when they brought it back to the colonies, the people said, no, we want to be included in it, and that's how the Bill of Rights came about. But over time, it seems that they eroded that again too. So it's, you know, it's still eroded away from the people and for the corporations. And so with these grassroots movements like in Pennsylvania and places like that, maybe is it 200 communities now?
In 9 states.
In 9 states that are taking back their rights.
And one of the fears that most of those communities probably had to encounter, especially from the governing level of the community, would be, I'm sure people would say, we can't create an ordinance, that's illegal. We can't create an ordinance that prevents XYZ, because that interferes with a corporation's right to do business, to practice what's considered a normal business practice.
Briefly, there's 3 structures of law in the United States that are considered settled law, which means they've been in place for so long that your own activist attorneys just assume that they can't be challenged, which is part of the problem, and we need to take them down. One of them is corporate constitutional rights, this bizarre 195-year history of the Supreme Court finding corporate rights in the Constitution even though they're not there. State preemption, which says that if a state government regulates or legalizes a certain kind of corporate activity, kind of normalizes that activity, clear-cut logging, GMO agriculture, monocrop agriculture, factory farms, toxic sludge, on farms, toxic incineration, the healthcare mess that we're in. It's like, you name it, all of those are state-regulated activities, and therefore it's illegal for a local or county government to ban that corporate activity because it's regulated by the state. If the state legalizes it, regulates it, the local can't ban it, even if it's going to cause enormous harm to the community. And the third one is Dillon's rule, and it's named after John Forrest Dillon, a late 1800s Supreme Court judge who came up with the idea, which was really like an original idea. It wasn't an assumption at this point, that the proper relationship between state government and local government is that of parent to child, that the state government has all the authority and the inherent capacity to rule, and the local government only exists at the whim of the state. It has no inherent authority of its own. So the local government is only allowed to make law in the arenas of law that the state lets it make make law, which is, so you put all three of these things together, corporate constitutional rights, state preemption, and Dillon's rule, and you end up with a reality on the ground that says that it's literally illegal for a local government or a county government to pass a law that protects the health and welfare of the human and non-human residents of that place. And when Americans hear this, they're absolutely dumbfounded.
No, it's not even within reach to throw a rock at.
Yeah.
So,
The other thing that dumbfounded me during the workshop was that all the regulations, all the steps we go through in regulatory law to try to win environmental battles. I think you said something like regulations were the ability to decide what level of harm was allowed.
How much pollution?
How many parts per million are allowed? So there's never, so we assume that harm is in our life.
And that
That's
it's
all.
Inevitable. It's inevitable.
It's inevitable.
It
And
has
sure.
to be normal.
agreeing that it's okay, as long as we're battling with the regulatory or governing body or Department of Natural Resources or whatever over these issues, then we're kind of co-conspirators, because we were saying, well, we agree that it's okay to discuss with you how much damage you can do to our water. And that was one of the things that came up during the GTAC struggle. I remember being in a hearing in Hurley, a small town near here, and I wasn't sure what I was going to say, but I wanted to talk. I wanted to, be witness, so to speak. And so I was waiting. I was telling Barb this earlier. I was waiting in line, and I thought, this is crazy. This whole thing is crazy. And then I thought, that's what I need to say. So when I got up and stood up, I said, it is crazy that we're here discussing how much harm we agree to do to our water. That we're here to talk about how much poison should we deliver to the infants in our community. It's just mind-boggling. And I did get the attention of the DNR, although it didn't really do us any good in the long run.
And the public, of course, knows you're right. On a gut level, right? Everyone in the audience is like, yeah, duh.
Everybody knows we're right, everybody agrees, and the votes never turn out in our favor. And so we keep thinking, I did something wrong. I didn't do this good enough. I didn't write enough letters. I didn't make enough phone calls. And as it turns out, there's nothing we can do as long as we're engaged in a fight with a regulatory system that will always win.